Another part of order in our homes that I want to touch on is, in terms of conflict resolution, forgiveness, conflict resolution, right? Because there is no way that two people that are from different backgrounds comes together and you will say there will be no conflict, right? Of course there will be conflict, because you will say things that I don't agree with, right? That I don't see any reason why we should do something like that, or we should do things that way, right?
Yeah.
And so we are conflicting each other, right?
Yeah.
Our ideas are conflicting, but as children of God, that we have to find a way to make sure that things are aligned together, even when in terms of conflict we offend each other, right? We have to make sure that we find ways to resolve those conflicts in a timely way, right? The Bible tells us in Colossians 3:13 that even as Christ forgave us, we should forgive one another. And like I said at the beginning, that the number one order in our homes should be spiritual order, which is making sure that Christ is at the center of our home, that everything that we do revolves around him. Everything we do revolves around him, because the other party might do something that might be very, very offensive, that might be very, very hurtful. But what would Jesus do in that situation? Would Jesus not forgive?
He will.
Jesus will forgive, right? He will forgive. And I know people are going to be saying, oh, what if it is, the person did this, maybe this is what the person did, maybe that is what the person did. I know, I understand that, there are different situations, different scenarios, of offense in marriages, right? And of course, there are some that we really need to, go ahead and seek for counseling, right? Depending on, how the gravity of whatever the offense is.
But to get what you're saying clearly, no matter what the offense, you must be ready to forgive. In marriage, in godly marriage, because in this generation, some people might be like, no, if this, forget it, we are done, blah blah like that. But in a godly marriage, you don't even have the mindset of like, we are done. The word divorce is not even heard of in your home, because you are not working you are not in the marriage for yourself. You are doing it unto the Lord. So no matter what comes, you take it to God in prayer, and with the help of God, God will put it in your heart to be able to forgive.
Yeah. And just like I said earlier, offense varies. It varies. But the goal is, not harboring unforgiveness in our hearts, right? Because like we know, as believers, our life does not end here. If I'm harboring unforgiveness towards my spouse, and let's say the other party passes on, or the rapture even happens, and the person ends up going to hell because of what? Because of what this other person did.
Because of arguments.
Nothing is worth our eternity, basically. That's what I'm saying, because we don't know. We don't know what the next day holds for anybody. We don't know. If God says our time is up, our time is up. And so that's why the Bible says that we should follow peace with all men. Follow peace with all men. All men. Husbands, wives, children, whoever. All men is all inclusive, right? Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see God, right? Of course, regardless of what happens to me on earth, I want to make heaven. That's what I've been telling you. God, I must make heaven. It doesn't matter what it is. I must make it to heaven. And so it is not worth it, harboring unforgiveness, resentment in our hearts. It's not worth it. And like she said earlier, some issues needs counseling and all of that, for people to get over whatever it is that the other party did. All right. So another part of order in marriage that we want to touch on is, in terms of our finances, because a lot of times, there is like no transparency in the family when it comes to finances. There is like, there is no kind of shared budgeting, like, we have a budget for the home and it is open to both spouses, right? Like, you are aware, your spouse is aware of, the budget for the home. Both spouses are aware of, what our incomes and expenditures are in the home. There's no reason why, we shouldn't be open about things like that, in our marriages. Because, a lot of times this can, cause trouble, and we know that, especially in this, not just even in this part of the world, generally, if something happens to the other party and this other person does not even know what they have, what they do not have, at the end of the day,
it's a waste.
Yeah, and the entire family is in trouble just because there is no order in finances. So transparency is very, very important in our homes as well. Check my notes.
So when we talk about, we must ensure that we have order in our finances. What does that, what does it really mean? What does it really mean to you as a person? Does that mean like, okay, your bank account and your spouse bank account must be joined? Or does it mean like you must have separate bank account but have a joint spending plan? I just want you to elaborate on it, because when you say we must ensure that there is order in our finances, because our income, our investment, everything, sometimes husband being the head of the family, they most of the time in a godly marriage, the husband tend to carry, all that, and just let the wife it's okay, you don't have to put your money, blah, blah. But God forbid, if anything happened to the husband and the wife doesn't even know where the husband has invested money in, he doesn't even know
how to even pay the mortgage.
Exactly. He doesn't even know the PIN number to the bank card or anything. So when we are talking, let there be order in our finances, is a very, very broad, talk. We may just think like, oh, my husband got it. I don't have, I'm okay. I don't have to know. But we have to know, because nobody, you can't tell what can happen. You can't tell. So we have to be intentional about the way we set up our finances, the way we do. Just be intentional about every activities that goes on in your home.
Yeah, well said. Even if the husband is an odongu, so to say, like they say in Nigeria, it is still important that the wife still knows the different sources of income that the man has. It's very, very important. Just in the case of eventuality, something happening, she's aware of where things are. She's aware of how things are done and all of that. Because we've seen cases where the husband passes away and the wife does not even know how to pay the bills in the home, because they have never, and even if they have never paid it, but they are not even aware, and that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good at all.
To me, that's not love. That's not love. I think if you love your spouse, you will want to even teach your spouse everything that you do. So you will get to a state that your spouse can automatically even, come and step in
for you.
Yeah, step in for you. And that is what it actually means, that the two has become one.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah. So the goal is of financial order in the home. The goal is transparency. Nothing is. It's not like I have this secret whatever somewhere, right? Secret
account.
Investment secret account that the other party doesn't necessarily have to know like the details of everything, but they know that this is here, this is here, this is there. No, we shouldn't be hiding anything from each other, because You know, the Bible tells us that, you know, they were naked and they were not ashamed. So it's not just about physical nakedness, but being naked in every aspect, being transparent, right? Being transparent, being open to the other person, you know, regardless.
Because, I mean, should I say technically, that is you in a different body. According to the Bible, like the two has become one.